The school-to-prison pipeline is a phenomenon that no one likes to admit exists.
It's hard to get your arms around this because there are so many dynamics associated with children from low socioeconomic status and poverty. Students start exhibiting behavior that puts them behind their peers. Once a child has been arrested as an adolescent or as a preteen, then you pretty much can almost guarantee that they're headed to prison.
School systems around the nation developed a policy called zero tolerance, which means that there's no tolerance for any kind of misbehavior. So we're talking about fighting, public disruption, interfering with the operation of a school. Misdemeanors have led to a disproportionate number of students being sent to juvenile court.
Think about it. If a child is not in school, what is that child doing? Many of them belong to single-parent homes. Some of those parents are working 2 part-time jobs. They can't afford to be home with that child during the day. They can barely afford to make it to a parent-teacher conference.
That's what suspension is. You do something wrong and then you're punished for it. We want to take what you do right and we want to encourage you to continue to do that.
Georgia Appleseed operates under a theory of change. We create a roadmap. The roadmap leads us from point A to B to C. We realize that so many of the kids that we see in juvenile court come to us through school. One of the things that we learned was almost 70% of out-of-school suspensions were for minor misbehaviors. And we thought that was a place that we could start to make a difference. We needed to have ready-to-access, easy-to-understand data.
What Georgia Appleseed has done, in conjunction with our partnership with the Department of Education, is we've taken out-of-school suspension data and we put it in a usable format on our Parent Toolkit website so that the community can see the out-of-school suspension rates for schools throughout Georgia.
The charts allow them to see by school what the suspension rates are and how they compare to other schools like their school as well as to the state.
We take solutions, best practices, the data that we've researched, and we work with community action groups to bring that to reality. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Now, community action groups are amazing folks that take their personal time out to come to meetings, to walk the neighborhoods with me, to talk to these parents, to let them know that we are a resource. Once we get through the door, that information becomes so valuable to the people that really need it.
At some point, we have to be able to work with the schools to replace the past practices of sending minor behavior cases to juvenile court with something more positive, something that is research-based, something that works. Positive behavioral interventions and supports.
Positive behavior intervention supports is a strategy. It's a strategy for the larger issue of improving school climate that involves everyone in the building in problem solving.
What it encompasses is instead of looking at suspending children, you are trying to flood the school with positive behavior intervention strategies. We want the students to realize and understand that they are capable of assuming leadership roles. If you're able to impact how students think, then students will go home and the parents will start having powerful conversations with their children about the school that their child attends, regardless of what side of town it's on.
The important thing is to look at each child individually. What might be a growth area for one child might not necessarily be what the other child needs. The research will help us look at some of those confounding variables that we don't see on the surface, but would definitely have to be a consideration in order to have the program work as a whole. Every little thing counts.
Schools have found that even if they want to do PBIS in their local communities, they might not have the extra resources to be able to do so. And so Georgia Appleseed has been going to funders to make the case, to say we need to get out of the silos, we need to collaborate.
Georgia Appleseed is putting it into action. What I'm looking for is a transformation in how we educate children. If you capture their attention, you can capture their heart. And we're trying to capture their heart.
The school to prison pipeline has caused a lot of harm to our community. I hope one day we are able to look back and say, this is when and this is where the tide of education turned.
Georgia Appleseed is very happy to be able to work together with the local school system and with the local community to make this dream come true.